How's it going, everyone? In today's video, we're going to be looking at potential interior offensive lineman draft prospects for the Green Bay Packers in the upcoming draft. We are 10 days away from the draft. This whole draft process has been flying by. We've done the same type of video looking at cornerbacks, safeties, linebackers. Now we're flipping to the offensive side, and we're going to look at interior offensive linemen, as that is a need for the Green Bay Packers. Whether you think that they need to draft a future starting center or they need a starting right guard, as right now they really only have Sean Rhyan and Royce Newman to potentially fill that starting right guard spot. And although I do have high hopes in Sean Rhyan, I still think the Packers need to add talent there, and they need to add depth there. Now, I released a video yesterday kind of going over the thought of Zach Tom being moved to center, as a report came out basically stating that the Packers believe he'll be his best at center. So if that was the case, then the Packers probably would draft a tackle before they would an interior offensive lineman. So let me know down in the comments below if you'd also like this type of video on tackles. But today we're going to be looking at guards and centers. So I have all the prospects up till around the 6th round. So there's a decent amount of them that project to guard or center at the NFL level. And some other parameters that meet a Packers threshold. You know, we talk about this every episode we do regarding a position, that the Packers have their threshold. So we're going to bring up the players they've drafted since 2017 at the interior of the offensive line. And it starts at the top with Zach Tom, 6'4", 304 pounds, RAS of 9.59, shuttle of 4.47, and a 3-cone of 7.32. Now, I'm including agility drills because it seems like the Packers love linemen that have high agility, primarily the 3-cone drill. So that does play an important factor, and you'll see why when we go over some of the prospects. Then we have Sean Rhyan in the same year, 6'5", 321 pounds, 8.17 RAS. Not a great shuttle, but a great 3-cone. Royce Newman, the year before that, 6'5", 310, good RAS, 8.69, average shuttle, average 3-cone. Josh Myers in the same year, 6'5", 310, didn't qualify for an RAS, so no shuttle and no 3-cone. John Runyon in 2020, 6'4", 306, 9.45 RAS, average shuttle, and a good 3-cone. Then we have Jake Hansen in 2020 as well, 6'4", 303 pounds, no RAS, so no shuttle and 3-cone. Elton Jenkins in 2019, 6'4", 310 pounds, 9.32 RAS, average shuttle, average 3-cone. Cole Madison, man, that is a name I haven't thought of in a very long time, from 2018, 6'5", 310 pounds, 6.39 RAS. Really the only outlier on here since 2017 in terms of an athlete. Low shuttle, average 3-cone. So that one was definitely an outlier, and it was definitely a draft bust. In 2017, we have Kofi Amisha here, 6'4", 302 pounds, 9.82 RAS, but no shuttle and no 3-cone. So if we average all of these players out, the average interior offensive lineman the Packers draft since 2017 is 6'4", 308 pounds. They have an 8.78 RAS. They have an average shuttle at 4.7, but they have a great 3-cone at 7.66. So in terms of a Packers threshold at guard, height and weight, not too much of a factor, but generally they're right around 6'4", 6'5". The Packers, since 2017, have yet to draft an interior offensive lineman that's 6'3" or less, so you're probably looking at interior offensive lineman at least 6'4" and just over 300 pounds. What's more important is the RAS. We know the Packers love their athletes, and that much is very, very true for offensive linemen. 8.78 average RAS, and shuttle doesn't matter that much. It's about average, like I said, but 3-cone definitely does. When you look at the Packers drafting at offensive linemen, not only guard, but tackle, they always draft offensive linemen that have at least average to above average to great 3-cone times. All right, so now let's take a look at all the prospects at interior offensive linemen for the Green Bay Packers in the upcoming draft. But before we do so, I want to remind you guys I'm still giving away this signed Lucas Van Ness Packers jersey here. Thank you to Sleeper. And also on Sleeper, signing up using code BASS will get you a first-time deposit match up to $500. Sleeper is an awesome fantasy sports app where you can choose either higher or lower on any stat of a player from multitude of different sports and games. You can do 2 to 8 picks, and you can win up to $100 X payouts. And along with using code BASS for that first time deposit match, signing up on Sleeper, making a first time deposit with code BASS will enter you in this signed Lucas Van Ness jersey giveaway. This is running through the end of April, so make sure if you haven't entered this already, definitely go down, download Sleeper, make a deposit with code BASS, and you'll be entered in this giveaway. I'll announce the winner on my community tab on May 1st. Again, thank you to Sleeper for sponsoring this video. All right, so without further ado, let's bring up the screen here, and we're going to go over the first 5 interior offensive linemen. Now, this is sorted based off of a general big board, so it goes from the highest ranked to the lowest. So I didn't include some of the early tackles that could potentially play guard, like Fuaga, because there's just no way the Packers would be able to draft him at 25. He won't be there at 25, and I don't like to be that person saying a certain player won't be there. But I think really where it starts is with Graham Barton and Jackson Powers-Johnson. Those are two guys that very well could be there at 25 or a potential trade up for the Green Bay Packers. That's realistic, right? So we're going to start with Graham Barton out of Duke. Definitely a lot of people's favorite interior offensive lineman in this class, and he is mine as well. 6'5", 313 pounds, 22 years old. He's going to be a center at the NFL level, but honestly, you could play him anywhere. He could play at guard, and if you really needed him to, he could play tackle, but I think he'll be his best at center. Shuttle of 4.55, an amazing 3-cone of 7.31, an RAS of 10.0. And I ran all these players' RASs at their suggested position in the NFL. So Graham Barton, I believe, has a 9.99 RAS as a guard, but a 10.0 as a center, where I see him as a fit in the NFL at center. So that's why I ran it as that, where it's a 10.0. So 100% he's a Packers fit. His 3-cone is amazing. He has a 10.0 RAS. So yes, if the Packers wanted to go down the route of getting an interior offensive lineman in the first round, which is not something they do, but in terms of the player, Graham Barton, 100% a Packers threshold fit. Then we have Jackson Powers-Johnson out of Oregon. He is a true center, 6'3", 328 pounds, 21 years old. No RAS, so no shuttle and 3-cone. So I don't list him as no or yes for a threshold, simply because we don't know the athletic score. So I think if it came down to it at pick 25 and both were available, the Packers would probably go Graham Barton because he's also a versatile lineman, which we know the Packers love. Then we have Zach Frazier out of West Virginia, 6'3", 313 pounds, 22 years old. He's also a center. Average shuttle, average 3-cone, average RAS at 7.29. For that, I have him as a no for a Packers threshold fit, also because he's 6'3", and as we saw in the list earlier, the Packers since 2017, or at least that's how far I went, it could go farther than that, haven't drafted a lineman under 6'4", so I don't have him as a fit. Then we have Jordan Morgan out of Arizona, 6'5", 311 pounds, 22 years old. I have him as a guard. Some people could argue that Jordan Morgan could be a tackle at the NFL level. I think he's going to be a great guard, and I think if a team drafts him, he'll be much better at guard than if they kind of force him into that tackle role, so I have him as a guard. He didn't 3-cone or shuttle test, but he does have an RAS due to everything else, and it's a 9.82. Now, if he tests it for shuttle and 3-cone, depending what those numbers are, that could be lower, but I still have him as a Packers fit. He fits height and weight. He has a high RAS as well, so I do have him as a fit. He's probably going to be a second rounder right around where the Packers pick at 41, so if they don't go lineman in the first round, look for Jordan Morgan at pick 41. It's definitely an option. Then we have Cooper Beebe out of Kansas State, 6'3", 322 pounds, 23 years old. He is a guard, shuttle average, but 3-cone is great, 7.44, equaling a 9.28 RAS, so again, a Packers fit. The one thing about this draft class, and you'll see as we keep going down the list, there are so many athletic linemen in this draft class. It is a very, very strong offensive lineman as a whole draft class, interior and tackle. It's very strong, so look for the Packers to probably get at least 2, if not 3, total offensive linemen in this draft class, and there are a ton of Packers fits, Cooper Beebe being one of them. Now going over to the next 5, Christian Haynes out of UConn, 6'3", 317, 23 years old. He's also a guard, no 3-cone and no shuttle, but a nice RAS of 9.1. For that reason, I have him as a threshold fit. I know Beebe and Haynes were both 6'3", and like I said, the Packers haven't drafted a interior offensive lineman under 6'4" in a long time, but I don't think it's that much of a issue to be, say, 6'3" as an interior offensive lineman for the Packers. I think they're more interested in the RAS, and they're more interested in the 3-cone, so for that reason, I do have Haynes as a fit. Then we have Cedric Van Pran, center out of Georgia, 6'4", 298 pounds, 22 years old. Shuttle, pretty poor, but a nice 3-cone and an average RAS, 7.62. So I have him as a maybe for the Green Bay Packers. I feel like if they're going to get a guy that can play center, it might just be a guard that could also play center. Someone that's more versatile than a true center coming out of this draft class. I could be wrong, but I feel like that's the route they would go. Then we have Christian Mahogany out of Boston College, 6'3", 313 pounds, 23 years old. He's a guard at the NFL level, good shuttle, average 3-cone, but a nice overall RAS of 9.63. Obviously, he played under head coach at the time, Jeff Hafley, adding the RAS and that. I think he is a Packers fit, although he's more of a traditional type of guard, a run blocking type of guard, which the Packers normally don't take. I still think that he is definitely a Packers threshold fit. Then we have Dominic Puny here from Kansas, 6'5", 303. He's one of my favorite offensive lineman prospects, especially in the middle rounds. 23 years old. I think he translates to guard at the NFL level. A lot of sites have him listed as a tackle, but I think he's going to be a great guard. Great shuttle, great 3-cone, and a pretty nice 8.16 RAS, so I do have him as a Packers fit. There's so many linemen in this class that I can go, oh, wow, that looks like a Packers offensive lineman. You know, in past years, there's like a few that you target, and you're like, wow, that's a Packers offensive lineman. There's so many in this draft class that fit this threshold. Mason McCormick out of South Dakota State, 6'4", 309 pounds, 23 years old. He's going to be a guard. Great shuttle, great 3-cone, and an amazing RAS of 9.96. So, yes, it's a Packers fit. Bo Limmer, Arkansas, 6'5", 302 pounds, 22 years old. He's going to be a center at the NFL level. 4.57 shuttle, great shuttle, a tremendous 3-cone, 7.47 there, and a great RAS, a 9.92. So, yes, also a Packers fit. Then we have Zach Zinner out of Michigan, 6'6", 309 pounds, 22 years old, guard, no shuttle, no 3-cone because no RAS. So I don't have anything listed for Green Bay threshold. Then we have Trevor Keegan. We have 3 straight Michigan offensive linemen here, 6'5", 310, 23 years old, a guard at the NFL level, poor shuttle, average 3-cone, but a great RAS overall, 9.19. So they're still at the average 3-cone where the Packers like, a little bit lower than their average for the last, since 2017, but still within their boundaries. So I have them as a Packers fit. Then we have Drake Nugent from Michigan as well. Very short here, 6'1", and light, 298 pounds, 23 years old. It's going to be a center at the NFL level. Good shuttle, average 3-cone, and below average RAS at 6.69. So I do not have him as a Packers fit. Then we have Tanner Bortolini from Wisconsin, one of my favorite mid to late round offensive lineman options, 6'4", 303, 22 years old. He played pretty much every position at Wisconsin, most recently center, but I think he's going to be his best at interior at the guard spot. 4'2", an absolutely ridiculous 3-cone, 7.16. I don't know if I've seen that low of a 3-cone from an offensive lineman in a very, very long time. So that equates to a 9.77 RAS. So I 100% see him as a fit, a Packers threshold fit. Like him and Graham Barton are the two that it's like they check every box for a Packers threshold fit. Walter Rouse out of Oklahoma, actually same height as Zach Zinner. So both of these guys, 6'6", 313 pounds. He was a tackle at Oklahoma. I think he'll be a guard at the NFL level. He's not as athletic as you would like for someone to be outside at tackle. We see here a poor shuttle, average 3-cone, but when you put him in as a guard at RAS, it's a 9.12, so I have him as a Packers fit. Then we have Javion Cohen, Miami, 6'4", 324 pounds, 23-year-old guard, poor shuttle, poor 3-cone, poor RAS. That's all you have to say, so not a Packers fit there. Isaiah Adams out of Illinois, 6'4", 315 pounds, 24 years old, guard at the NFL level, average shuttle, average 3-cone, average RAS, so I have him as a maybe. Then we have Hunter Nourzad from Penn State, 6'3", 317 pounds, 23-year-old center. Didn't test for RAS, so he doesn't have anything there, so I don't list him yes or no as a Packers fit. Brandon Coleman out of TCU, 6'4", 313 pounds. I couldn't find an age for him. He's a guard at the NFL level, average shuttle, great 3-cone at 7.4, and a tremendous RAS score of 9.96. He's one of my favorite later round offensive linemen. Like the Packers could 100% draft 2 of these interior offensive linemen, say one early if they went Graham Barton early, and then one to like the mid to late rounds like a Bortolini or a Brandon Coleman. He's a 9.96. I have him as a Packers fit for sure. Then we have Layden Robinson, the last one on this list that I have here, Texas A&M, 6'3", 302 pounds, 22-year-old guard average shuttle, average 3-cone, but a nice RAS at 8.19, so I have him as a maybe for a Packers fit. So those are all the interior offensive linemen I have listed. Of course, there's a bunch more that potentially could go in the 6th to 7th round or undrafted, but these are all the primary ones that you might hear their name called when it comes down to the draft for the Green Bay Packers. I'm sure there's going to be a couple guys that I didn't add on this list, that the Packers, one of them they draft in the 6th to 7th round that I didn't have on this list, but these are the primary ones. These are the ones you want to keep your eyes on. There's a lot of Packers threshold fits for interior offensive linemen in this draft because there's a ton of athletes, and the Packers obviously love their versatile athletes at interior offensive line. Some of my favorite being Graham Barton, Jordan Morgan, Cooper Beebe, Tanner Bordellini, Bo Limmer, and Brandon Coleman. There's just so many linemen I like in this draft class. Let me know your favorite down in the comments below. Which of these linemen would you be the most happy if the Packers were to go and select them during this upcoming draft? But I appreciate you guys coming by to the video. If you could, please leave a like down below. It supports the channel a ton. But I'll catch you on the next one. And as always, go Pack Go.